Greetings. Today we're going to start by adding our AC conductors to our Victron Multi-Plus inverter in their final configuration. First things first though, let's prep these cables with the proper amount of stripping and the correct... Alright, we have our three conductors and they need to be 18 millimeters each. So we're just checking those. So that one looks good. That one looks good. That one's 3.5 centimeters, so that's too much. So we're gonna have to add some insulation to that, so that when we install it, it's at 18. We're gonna use our handy dandy hydraulic press to press on these ferrules, so that way they can fit into the terminal block for the AC1 output. At first glance, this is a little wide for our circular opening, so we're going to give it a little tap and clean it up a little bit. Okay, now we're going to use our handy dandy fencing pliers to pry open this plastic clamp, and then we are going to feed in our conductors into the terminal block AC out, starting with our neutral, then going to our earth ground, and then going to our L. And to open this entry hole, we're going to put this tiny little screwdriver in the tiny little hole and press it in until we hear those two clicks that you just heard. Press the left arrow on your keyboard a couple times to get back to that. Okay, now we got that inserted, and now we have all three inserted, but you'll notice there's no service loop. So when we tighten this down, it's going to put tension on those cables, effectively pulling them a little bit out of the terminal block. So we loosen that thing up, we pull in some slack. That slack's called a service loop. And then we tighten these nuts to 1.6 Newton meters so that they're just the right amount of tight on them according to the manual. And that way these cables are secured in two ways: this clamp, from the clamp on the terminal block. Now that that is done, we will feed these cables into our AC panel one at a time, and then we are going to connect them to this panel so that we can get it wired off. And of course our inverter is turned off right now, so there is no power on this system. Okay, so we'll cut our conductors to length one at a time, and we will wire in our ground first after stripping and ferruling it, putting a ferrule on it. And then we will do our neutral second and our positive cable last. And we are using our press again to get some ferrules on these. And then our wire cutters to, well, actually redo this because the 6-gauge wire won't fit into this bus bar. So what I'm doing is I'm splitting this wire in 2/3 to 1/3 and then putting 2 ferrules on it, and then inserting those 2 ferrules into 2 different holes in the bus bar. And I'm going to do the same thing with the neutral wire. Fortunately, this 50 amp breaker will hold the ferrule, but just barely. So we'll get that in there nice and rounded using our fencing pliers. Plug that in, tighten it up, and heat shrink an insulator on it so it's perfectly well insulated. And then we'll go ahead and pop in a few other tandem breakers because this positive bus bar is split, and so we're only going to be using the lower segment of it because we only have one AC input. We will turn it on with a insulated glove and check our testing outlet with an outlet tester, and we have 2 yellow lights, which indicates that it is ready to go. In any case, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you around.